So I get asked a lot how I started Farmigo or why I started Farmigo, and it's usually like in a cocktail hour where there's loud music and I'm supposed to give this like incredibly insightful answer in 10 seconds, which I can't muster. So I have the opportunity, captive audience here. You guys, for the first time ever, are gonna hear why I started Farmigo. Never been told. So Act 1 is cliff jumping. And about 7.5 years ago, I was a VP at a Fortune 1000 company. Plush, I had a great salary, great conditions, and I felt like I wasn't really creating, wasn't maximizing the potential, wasn't having an impact. It was time to leave. I wanted to start a company. And I didn't have an idea. I was just way too busy to try to do it in parallel, and you don't have that mindset. So it was just like this decision, I'm gonna go for the jump. I'm just gonna resign and start looking for an idea. And I don't know if anybody's actually done these jumps, bungee jumping or jumping out of a plane, but you kind of jump, and for those first few seconds, your heart just gets left behind. It takes a little while for you to like start realizing, okay, I'm in a free fall, and I'm starting to get used to this. And that's kind of what happens when you do this jump. Right, you jump, the next day you have nothing to do. What's the idea? What's it gonna be? It starts to get very, very scary. So I started thinking, what gave me the tendency to be willing to cliff jump? And that leads us to the second kind of Act 2, which is lost in translation. Because I look back to say, what's the first time I did a cliff jump? I was 18 years old, American, decided that I wanted to get recruited into the Israeli army. It was a country that I believed was there for a good reason, that I wanted to be part of it, that one day I might want to live there, which meant I had to go through the socialization process, which in Israel means, for a man at least, you have to go through the army. So, 18 years old, didn't speak Hebrew. I'm this scrawny kid, not that I'm buff right now, but like I was scrawny, tall and scrawny. I had like this, inconsistent facial hair. At 18, you're still like going through that growth period. And didn't know anything about the Israeli army, didn't have any older brothers and sisters that had gone through it that could like tell me stories about it. And it's recruiting day, and everybody's kind of funneling in. I don't understand a word, right? Things are being yelled at you. This is a massive bureaucratic system, and I'm just kind of following everybody, right? And you have to pick your uniform up. There's small, medium, large. I take large. Now, large was not designed for this body. It's like this tent on me. It's not hitting my ankles. I look weird in it. I already look weird at that age. And I went into the Army, which was the Air Force Cadet Course. It's the way the Israeli Army works is they kind of send as many people that direction as they can. You start, my cohort started 2,050 finished after 2 years. So it's just this kind of process where they're constantly skimming. So, okay, here's this American guy, doesn't speak Hebrew, going into the Air Force Cadet Course. And the first 4 months are basic training, which is strange because as a pilot, you don't really need to know the stuff that you learn in basic training, but for them, it's the fastest way where they can skim people for character. So, I remember I didn't understand what's being shouted at me. So everybody's like running with a gun over their head. That's what I'm doing, right? Everybody's running in that direction. That must be the right direction. If anybody was yelling at me personally, I would just kind of look around to take cues. I had no idea what was being yelled at me, right? So I'm in this basic training 4-month period. Most of the time you spend on your belly, you're kind of crawling, and also if you're tall, that's kind of a hard snake move to do. I was terrible at it. And they have paratroopers that lead it. It's their punishment. They have to lead Air Force cadet kind of soldiers through this. It's kind of not considered for them. They've got brown boots, we have black boots. All I remember seeing for 4 months is brown boots. That was the level I was on. And one of the things that you need to do is you need to lead an exercise as if you've been, like you're leading 12 people and you've been hit in front of you and now you're kind of commanding them to run forward. And there's a script that you learn so that nobody's making this up as you go along, right? You're under battle pressure. So I'm learning this script and I have no idea what I'm learning, right? Because I don't know the actual meaning behind each word, and I'm just trying to get the script right. And everybody has to take a turn doing it over the course of 4 months, and it becomes my turn to do this. I'm incredibly nervous. I'm not sure I have the script down right. And it just so happens that as I'm about to do it, the general of like the whole basic camp comes over. He's gonna shadow me. I'm already nervous, I'm way more nervous now, right? So the first thing I'm supposed to do is I'm supposed to yell, we've been hit out in front, start charging. Okay, so I'm all ready to do this. I'm gonna yell at the top of my lungs. I've got 12 people that I'm leading of my cohort, right? And so what I think I'm yelling, we've been hit in front, start charging, and I'm charging, right? And I get to a certain point, I'm supposed to like jump and lay down on my belly, look left and right, and then go for the next command. And I'm looking left and right, no one. No one. And I'm not that fast, right? So there's no way I've like beat everybody here. So I'm like, what's going on? I look back, everybody's laughing, right? Including this general. They're way back there, they're laughing. So I get up, I'm like, what, guys, what's the joke? What happened? And it turns out what I did was I said, we've been hit in front, start combing your hair. Right? A slight, they sound the same in Hebrew. It's kind of like kadima liste'er, it's kadima listarek. They're very similar. This became like the joke of the entire base. When I got back after the basic training, everybody knew about it. It's funny now, I laugh about it. It was demoralizing. It was like yet another thing that was just like putting me into the ground. And at night, we didn't get much sleep. We were sleeping in these like 2-people tents. And there was one guy, his name was Ori. And we'd also have to guard at night. And when it was his turn to guard, he'd kind of come over to my tent and he would sing. He would just serenade me. Like everybody realized how miserable I was, and this guy was there to like make my life a little bit easier during this basic training moment. It was very, very sweet. So I get back to kind of the main camp. Now we're moving along in the cadet course. They've already skimmed through like 1,000. So from 2,000 we're down to 1,000. And now it's time to learn meteorology, physics, aerodynamics, math in Hebrew. I'm sitting in these classrooms, right, like pretending I'm writing notes. I have no idea what's being said. But I ended up finding this guy, his name was Eitan, and his mother was from New Jersey, New Brunswick. My mother's from New Brunswick. His father's a professor, American. My father's a professor. We just started bonding on all these things, and we had very similar upbringings, and he just took this affinity to me, and he said, Benzi, when everybody goes to sleep at night, I'm going to sit with you, and I'm going to tutor you through all of the stuff we just learned that day, so you can pass these tests. And that's what he did for that entire period. I passed the test. Unfortunately, he got kicked out, and I continued. He still brings that up today, because he's one of my best friends. The next phase in the pilot course was you got to start flying. Now, before you get on the plane, you're supposed to check the tires, the wings, the engine. There's a book of like 20 pages that the Air Force has you memorize so that you go through this and you don't have to actually literally be going through a book. Now, remember I had trouble memorizing back then? Now we're talking 20 pages, all in Hebrew. And I found this guy, Amir. And he was the artist of our group. They called him Beaker, like from the Muppets. He didn't exactly look like Beaker. But he had these green eyes, and he would paint these murals on the walls. Everybody's kind of, in the Air Force, kind of conforming, same type haircuts. He was the nonconformist. And he kind of took me under his wing, and we would walk around the entire base, just doing these rings, and he would drill me on these 20 pages until I memorized it. And throughout this, like, I didn't become a pilot. This was 2 years. I did make it to 100, right? So 50 left. And at that point in time, I really also felt that I was Israeli, that I had earned kind of my right. But much more important, which was the unintended consequence of this whole process, was I realized that I had done this cliff jump, and there were certain parachutes that were opening all along the way, and there were these people that I was meeting that would kind of take me and help me land at the next setting, which was such a confidence builder from a network perspective, from a connection perspective of how you get through life. Which takes us to the final act. And so here I am cliff jumping 7 years ago looking for an idea. And I found an idea. It was, how do we use the internet to connect us directly to farms and changing the food system from the ground up? I was very excited about it, kind of started that journey. And 3 years into it, I started to realize that what was inspiring me was not the food element, which was surprising to me. It was the fact that we were bringing groups of people together who were starting food communities. That's the way Farmigo works. You kind of set a community together, and then the whole group gets connected to local farms. So I do one out of my apartment building, and all my neighbors come in and pick up. And they get done out of schools, they get done out of homes. And I had realized that I was enjoying much more the fact that we were bringing groups of people together and forming relationships. So in my apartment building, we got to know our neighbors because people are picking up from our apartment every single week. So it was an unintended consequence. Initially, I thought we're doing this to get the food, and that's how we were getting people to join. But at the end of the day, people were enjoying the fact that they were getting to know one another. So, funny thing happened 3 weeks ago. I get this random phone call, and it's a friend that I know who says, I'm going to hand the phone off to somebody that I think you know. And he hands the phone, and it's Corey, the guy who serenaded me 25 years earlier. And I hadn't spoken to him since. And he said, Benzi, I don't remember that 4-month period, anybody that was there or anything that happened. The only person is, I remember you. And you helped me get through, he became a pilot. You helped me get through that period because I said, if you're getting through this, I'm gonna get through it. And again, it was this unintended consequence of, holy shit, like he got me through it. To think that I actually helped him get through it. So my challenge to you guys is this. We're all here because of food. We want to eat better. Start a community. I bet you're going to have your unintended consequences. You'll create your villages of the people that you connect to as you bring people together that will be more magical at the end of the day than the food. Thanks.